Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man. Hope you're all doing good and well. And so it's time now for episode 3 of the Album That series, where I'm talking about the album that got me into metal. A common topic, I think, for a lot of music tubers or YouTubers that sort of talk about albums and hit singles and their sort of early musical listenings and their paths into certain music genres. So it's quite a common topic, I guess. But it was one I thought I should do. I think that a lot of people possibly may relate to this because it's a very popular album. I mean, it's a really popular album. In a way, I suppose, a part of me would want to pick something that's a little bit more obscure, but it would just be a lie. It would be a complete and total lie. I mean, I've gone for the choice that genuinely resulted in me going out to shops and getting into metal a hell of a lot more than I was prior to really listening to this album. I suppose it wouldn't necessarily be true to say I wasn't into music at all prior to this point, or into, I was quite into rock music a bit. I had a taste for guitar driven stuff, I think. My earliest memories are actually of hearing my parents playing a lot of classical and orchestral music, your Tchaikovsky sort of things and Tchaikovsky symphonies and you know who else, Sibelius, that sort of thing, big orchestral stuff, which I loved as a kid. And some people say classical and metal aren't so far apart. You hear symphonic metal a lot and that marriage of music, and a lot of people say they're not so far apart, and I kind of agree with that. The big orchestral stuff, is big, it's loud, it's energetic, very much like metal is. So I'm going to reveal this. I eventually reveal what this album is to you all, but yeah, it was a pretty slow, path for me into metal, really, and it surprises me to this day that it took me until the age of sort of 14, 15. Well, I was 15 when the album came out to really realise I had a taste for heavier music. Now, there are other albums that I suppose you could say steered me a little bit towards metal, but it was this one that did it, that got me going to shops, buying lots of other metal albums. Of course, I'm talking about new metal here, which is now kind of sneered at a bit, the cringy new metal stuff. But it was hugely popular. It was when metal was last big, when it was last well known, was when new metal was big and it was in the charts, and it was this band that were often making hay, making really kind of big inroads into the charts that time. And this was the album that got me into metal. It was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. What else could it have been? Released in October of 2000. And I think I bought it a little later than that, actually. I think it may have even been early 2001 before I actually bought this album on CD. This is the actual one I bought. And it was just an album that was so grabbing. And I say, probably going to say similar sort of things as I said in the Killswitch video, Killswitch Live or Just Breathing, because the album had a similar sort of impact on me as this one did, really potent, that production that's just kind of, everything's nice and forward and nice and loud and you can hear it, and, there's no sort of over polishing and all that stuff, And you had some good singles on here. I mean, I remember Paper Cut being a bit of a kind of soundtrack to my summer holiday in Italy as a 15-year-old. I loved Paper Cut. I mean, there was just something about it that it was catchy. It was the way it started with that, that little build up, and then when the guitar chords hit, the big distortion hits, everything comes together all at once. It was just such a powerful track. Even now, looking back, there's a lot of great tracks on here. Like I say, I mean, I think it's probably, if you were already into metal, I can see why you may not like this album so much, and you may not like the rap metal aspect of it, the new metal stuff that's on here. I can see that. But if you were growing up at the time, so accessible and so easy to get into, this album, just infectious. Right from the beginning. And what I really liked about this was the interplay, particularly. I mean, there's a lot to like, I think, but it was the interchanges of Mike Shinoda with Chester Bennington, his rapping and Chester's soaring, vocals and choruses. You often had Mike kind of doing a lot of the verses and rapping in the verses, and then you'd get hit with Chester's just huge choruses. And he always kind of reminded me a little bit of Lane Staley from Alice in Chains, with his slightly kind of delivery, quite throaty, um, and just a bit. And I just really like their interplay, basically, that kind of the rap and then the big choruses. It worked incredibly well for them. But I mean, this is always going to be the album I love most by Linkin Park. For me, it's kind of a lot of people like, I think, a couple of other albums that came not long after this. What was it, Meteora, Reanimate, I think. To be honest, this was the album I always really liked, so I didn't really delve too deep into a lot of their other albums. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that this was the album that really got me into all things heavy. And yeah, I just think it is a great little album, really. I mean, as I say, you'll get people that will always kind of sneer at this kind of stuff, and even Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. But for me, it was that gateway, the whole gateway album thing, right? It was the gateway that led me to so many other things. And that was it. I'm sure it's the same as well for lots of kind of my generation, that they listened to this album and it was a turning point. I do know a friend actually that had a very similar experience, and said to me that it was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory that they listened to that led them on to all those other bands. This led me on to System of a Down, it led me on to Disturbed, it led me on to that was the other album, that video, right? The one that made me superstitious. But then you had other, things like, it got me into things like Mudvayne, I think, got me into, obviously, Killswitch a little later on. They were sort of the metalcore stuff starting up. But, it just got me into lots of other things, which led me on to, I kind of, at about the same time as my interest in new metal started to peak, as did it. My close friends really got into this stuff. I used to go around their houses and this would be playing a lot. Slipknot will be playing, Limp Bizkit, all that kind of thing. POD, if you remember POD, all that sort of thing. We'd be playing PlayStation games, all these kind of things playing in the backgrounds. And looking back, I mean, probably, simpler times, much simpler times. And, it was good fun. It was great fun. And this is really good fun to listen to still now. And my favourite track on this, you know what? It probably isn't one of the singles, because the singles I've heard to death. But With You, track 3. I love that track a lot. And I think it's the little atmospheric touches they put into it that I really like. When you listen to it, it's all really great chorus too. The verses are really good. Everything in With You, I just really like. It's a short track, but it's pretty. I find that track pretty powerful as well. I think it's a powerful one, With You. I think it's a powerful track. I really do. So I've talked for 9 minutes about this, but I suppose this is talking about my avenue into metal, and an avenue which I would never turn back from. Once I'd gone down that road, that was it. I wasn't turning back, and it led me on to lots of other things. I could probably have another video talking about what this led to. I got into a lot of classic metal after my new metal phase. Actually, I didn't go forwards. I actually went back and started realising I really liked a lot of classic heavy metal in my slightly kind of middle to late teenage years. And I suppose the next phase after that would be prog, but that's probably a whole other video some other day. But thank you as always for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next episode, bye for now. There'll probably be a review up at some point next. So take care everyone, and bye for now.